recording by Chad Horner. Every man's university. A distinct university walks about under each man's hat. The only man who achieves success in the other universities of the world and in the larger university of life is the man who has first taken his graduate course and his postgraduate course in the university under his hat. Their observation furnishes a daily change in the curriculum. Books are not the original sources of power, but observation, which may bring to us all wide experience, deep thinking, fine feeling, and the power to act for oneself, is the very dynamo of power. Without observation, literature and meditation are shower and sunshine upon unbroken soil. Only those schools and colleges are true schools and colleges which regard it as the chief business of all their teaching to persuade those under their charge to see more perfectly what they are looking at, to find what they should have been unable to observe had it not been for their school instruction. You can't make a good arrow from a pig's tail, and you can seldom get a man worthwhile out of one who has gone through the early part of his life without having learned to be alert when things are to be seen or heard. John Stuart Blackie says that it is astonishing how much we all go about with our eyes wide open and see nothing, and Dr. Johnson says that some men shall see more while riding 10 miles upon the top of an omnibus than some others shall see in riding over the continent. How to observe should be the motto, not only in the beginning of our life, but throughout our career. With the same intellectual gifts, interested in the same ideas, two men walk side by side through the same scenery and meet the same people. One man has had much inspiration from the country traversed, and has been intent upon all that he has seen and heard among the people. The other has caught no inspiration from beauty, or bird, or blossom, and only the trivialities of the people have amused him. A traveller in Athens or Rome, Paris or London may be shown these cities by a professional guide, and yet gain only a smattering of what these cities hold in store for him, and remember little of what he has seen. Another traveller, unattended by a guide, but observant of everything that comes to his eyes and ears, will carry away stores from his visit to those cities, which shall be of lifelong interest and be serviceable to all who shall travel his way. The solitary but observant stranger in a country almost always profits most from his travels. He is compelled to notice boulevards and buildings, parks and people, and every day of his travels is a lesson in observation that accustoms him to remember all he has once seen. The newspaper correspondents of other days had no guidebooks or guides, and they were entire strangers in the places they visited. They relied entirely upon themselves to find their way, and to discover everything that was valuable and interesting. They found much that the modern guide either overlooks or disregards, and wrote for the papers at home what would most interest and instruct their readers. When Henry M. Stanley first visited Jerusalem, he insisted that the dragoman in charge of his party should keep all guides and guidebooks out of his sight. In 2 days Stanley knew the streets and the location of the temple and the Holy Sepulchre and all the notable places in that old city. If Stanley is today known as one of the most intelligent of travellers, it is mainly because he excelled in daily observation, which everyone who thinks for himself recognises as the supreme acquisition of a liberal education. He often said that he knew Rome, Naples and Vienna far better than he knew New York, where he had lived many years of his life. In that he resembled the rest of humanity, who generally know less about what is notable in their home places than observant visitors know who stay there only a short time during their travels. What we pay for in time and labour seems more valuable. Nothing pay, nothing value. A great foreign correspondent of his day, Henry W. Chambers, remained only 6 hours at Baalbek, near Damascus. Yet he wrote the clearest description that probably ever was written of the magnificent temples at Baalbek, and he wrote these descriptions too at Hong Kong, after many and varied experiences while visiting other places of greater importance. Many archaeologists and literary men before him had visited the moat of the great fortress at Baalbek. Still, they had never observed as Chambers observed, and so they missed seeing the arrowheads and all the other warlike instruments used in those ancient days, which had lain unnoticed among those huge pillars and great foundation stones. Although General Lew Wallace lived a long time at Jerusalem, he only imagined that there might have been an inner dungeon underneath the great prison. So when he wrote Ben-Hur, he put his leprous heroine into this imaginary prison house. A school teacher from northern England, with her tourist candle, afterward found the doorway of this prison which Wallace had only imagined to be there. On their way from Egypt and Palestine to the Euphrates, travellers had for centuries passed over the same path in the desert, but it was reserved for a cutter of marble inscriptions. After all these centuries, to observe the Rosetta Stone, by the help of which archaeologists can now read the inscriptions upon the tablets in the ancient palaces of Babylon and Nineveh. Millions and millions had seen the lid of a tea kettle bobbing up and down over the boiling water before that Scotchman observed it while making watches. But he was the first of all those millions whose close observation led him to investigate this force of boiling water in the tea kettle. Then he applied this power to the steam engine, which is still the great propelling force of the world. From the time of the Garden of Eden, apples had fallen in the orchards of the world through all the harvest days. Of all the billions that had seen apples falling, only Sir Isaac Newton observed the law of gravitation that was involved in their falling. All the great discoverers began with nearly the same meagre powers for observation that the rest of the world has, but early in life came to value above all other mental powers this incalculable power to closely notice, and each made his realm of observation much richer for his discoveries. Why do the majority of us go through life seeing nothing of the millions of marvellous truths and facts, while only a few keep their eyes and ears wide open, and every day are busy in piling up what they have observed? The loss of our instincts seems to be the price we pay today for the few minor acquisitions we get from school and college. We put out our brains to make room for our learning. The man who assiduously cultivates his powers of observation and thus gains daily from his experiences what helps him to see farther and clearer everything in life that is worth seeing, has given himself a discipline that is much more important than the discipline of all the schools and the colleges without it. The greatest textbooks of the greatest universities are only the records of the observations of some close observer whose better powers of seeing things have been acquired mainly while he was taking his courses in that university under his hat. The intellect is both telescope and microscope. If it is rightly used, it shall observe thousands of things which are too minute and too distant for those who, with eyes and ears, neither see nor hear. The intellect can be made to look far beyond the range of what men and women ordinarily see, but not all the colleges in the world can alone confer this power. This is the reward of self-culture. Each must acquire it for himself, and perhaps this is why the power of observing deeply and widely is so much oftener found in those men and those women who have never crossed the threshold of any college but the University of Hard Knocks. The quickening power of science only he can know, from whose own soul it gushes free. When we look back over our life and reflect how many things we might have seen and heard had we trained our powers of observation, we seem to have climbed little and to have spent most of our time upon plateaus, while our achievements seem little better than scratches upon black marble. Mankind has a greater esteem for the degrees conferred by the University of Observation and Experience than for all the other degrees of all other universities in the world. The only thing that seems most to win the respect of real men and women for the degrees conferred by colleges is the fact that the graduates have first gained all that close observation and wide experience can confer. The lives of the men and the women who have been worthwhile keep reminding us how vastly more important is this education from ceaseless observation than all the mere learning from school courses. It takes 10 pounds of the stuff gotten from observation and experience to carry 1 pound of school learning wisely. The thinking man will never ask you what college you have gone through, but what college has gone through you. And the ability and habit of observing deeply and broadly is the preparation we all need that the college may go through us. Confucius of China, Kitto of Japan, Goethe of Germany, Arnold of England, Lincoln and Edison of America stand where they stand today in thought and action solely because they had, in a masterly way, educated their power of minute attention in building up a huge business or in amassing enormous riches. Such men as Rothschild, Rockefeller, and Carnegie show us especially how vitally important to all material success is steadfast attendance at the school of attention. The colleges that today are advancing most rapidly in esteem are those which are recognizing more and more the importance of observation. They require their men to spend some portion of their college time in gaining experience in their various lines through observing the practical workings of their calling. Medical students are in hospitals, students of law attend courts, theological students engage in mission work, and engineers are found in shops. Neither lectures or speculations can take the place of these experiences. Each is helpful to the other, when only one may be had. The experience from observing actual work is far more important. Opportunities for observation of practical matters along with theory is the modern idea toward which all the best modern institutions are tending in their efforts to fit men for the active business of life. Nor has greatness from careful observation and large experience distinguished men of action alone. Shakespeare, Goethe, Bunyan, Burns, Whittier, Longfellow, James Whitcomb Riley, and a host of the great men of philosophy, science, and literature are where they are today in the esteem of their fellow men and in their service to humanity because they were the keenest among the men, acute in observation.